Welcome back to Nick's Vintage Iron. It's been a while. It's been a long time since we've talked about the pink duster. And I think today is a good day. Let's get this thing out of hibernation. So today, we're going to do a little bit of cooling system upgrades. It needs new hoses, new coolant put in it. It was all drained out over the winter. And we also have a new thermostat and a little thermostat seal modification. I'm hoping that works. So let's get to it. So before we start on this thing, if you haven't seen the other videos or noticed, this is my 1970 Plymouth Duster factory FM3 right here. Moulin Rouge pink, or some people call it Panther pink, which is the Dodge color. But sadly, part of me wishes I could call it Panther pink because it's just easier to say, but we got to stay correct with Plymouth. But it's a 1970, numbers matching 318, runs and yard drives, definitely not roadworthy yet, but we'll get there. So in this video, we're going to replace the upper radiator hose, the thermostat seal, this little bypass hose, and then the lower hose. Kind of completely spaced it, but I should have got new heater hoses too. Maybe I'll get some of those before I put coolant in it. Otherwise, I mean, that's pretty simple. We can always do that later too. But let's get to this thing. So since the car is in cold storage, I don't have my big toolbox in here. So I'll use my little packed out traveling kit. And hopefully you shouldn't need too many tools for this job. So the first plan, we'll just start at the top and start by removing this hose. Like I said, the coolant is all drained out of it. I'm sure there's still going to be a little bit of coolant leaking out in areas, but that's fine. You know what's sad is these old hoses are probably, even though they're 20 to 40 years old, who knows when they were replaced, but they're probably going to last longer than any of the new garbage that we buy. For sure the hose clamp. Well, we're not even 5 minutes in, and look at how crusty and sludgy that thermostat is. I never noticed the little bit of driving I did on this car if it was getting hot, but I would almost bet it probably wasn't functioning properly. Pretty yummy, huh? So I just put a real thin coat of case sealant on there, just because I know these things always leak. And I don't want it to leak, but this intake isn't forever anyways. This car will be getting a 4-barrel eventually, so it'll be getting another new thermostat or swapped over, and then I'll probably buy a new hopefully that all kind of centers itself. I'll be getting a new upper hose neck, and then I saw online that if you use a Vortec 350 rubber style seal, they seal better. So I bought one, but it's too small for the thermostat. So I don't know if that guy forgot to mention that he uses the Vortex thermostat as well. But, so we are not going to go that route. I wanted to get this on before I take more stuff apart, just so it can tack up a little bit. Should be good. So now let's get this off. Look at how gross that is inside. Yuck. Oh, that's why we're getting stuff all cleaned up. Yikes, those clamps look bad. So we got the old hose off, actually all three hoses off. And we got the new lower hose ready. I just put a little bit of oil, some aerosol oil on it so it's a little slipperier. Got the radiator neck down there, the water pump neck down there. I see she's pretty crusty and actually little chunks either broken or corroded off. So I'm sure this thing will need a water pump eventually. But or when it comes time to actually like dressing up and like working on the motor, we'll address that. But this whole project was just like $20 in hoses off Rock Auto, just so the thing doesn't leak and so it can hold good coolant. So we'll go back on with the lower hose, and then all we got left is the upper, and we can throw some coolant in this thing. I guess it's better than having them too short, but you can see the neck down there. All these hoses, they're all Gates hoses from Rock Auto, like I said, and they all came plenty long. So I'll have to get it as close as I can, mark it, and then we'll trim a little bit off and get it mounted in there. All right, time for the upper hose. This one actually fits pretty good, I'd say. Losing tools already. Oh, good grief. Let's top this thing off with some coolant. Hopefully I got everything sealed up. And if you don't already have one of these coolant funnels, you need one. See the petcock still leaking. Alright, let's try it again. I don't think we're leaking anywhere now. This little radiator shouldn't hold too much. Obviously the block is drained too, so once you start it up it'll circulate more, but imagine it holds more than just a couple gallons. We got coolant topped off. I'm sure that little bit will go down once it starts circulating. We got upper hose, bypass hose, thermostat, gasket, lower hose. I didn't do the heater hoses yet. I can always just drain a little bit of coolant out and do those. I don't have them on hand and kind of honestly forgot about them. So we got a battery in. Don't look at the wiring. That's all coming eventually. We got to clean all that up after last year's deal. But let's see if this thing will start, huh? I think it's time. Well, it's the next day. Car's in the garage. We have some good and bad news. The good news is that little cooling system project is done. The bad news is the radiator from about the middle of the core down is pretty cooked. I mean, it's not boiling out, but it's pretty wet and it's leaking pretty good. So add that to the list. I kind of, in a way, expected that, but was hoping it wasn't gonna be that bad. Still got to clean up a lot of the wiring and stuff from doing the distributor swap and getting this thing running last fall. It desperately needs 4 new tires
because these two don't even hold air overnight, and really needs a new master cylinder, front brakes. We have the rear axle located, 8 3/4 A-body rear axle. We'll be swapping that in. I would like to get this thing kind of trashy roadworthy for this summer, but it's a little